Check, check. Audio good? Okay. Tell you what, if that ain't poetic, I don't know what is. That's actually a good reminder too, by the way. I got a hot date tonight, so my wife's going to yell at me if I don't get out of here in about the next 15 minutes or so. So we got to be concise. You clicked on the thumbnail. I worked hard on it, so it worked. Congratulations to both of us because we're here. The thumbnail was at least nice enough. You guys know what the topic is today, okay? Jonathan Allen, the lifeline that the defensive tackle desperate Cowboys needed. But why? What makes him different? The compensatory draft pick formula. We're going to talk about that a little bit more right after this. Just let me, you guys just enjoy this 20-second clip while I fix my audio. Let's hit it. Okay, should be good to go now. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. And by the way, Hagen says, "Hi, Daddy. Hi, baby. I love you. Mwah." I'll come up there and see you in just a second. Okay. Like I said, my wife's gonna yell at me if I don't get up out of here. Henley said, "Hi, Henny girl." I guess my kids are watching, so this is pretty cool. Hit that like button for me, guys. It's the best way to help out this particular platform, this channel. If you're new here, I'm Lando from the Lando Show. It's a Sports Below the Surface, and today we're talking about Jonathan Allen, the lifeline from a familiar foe. Almost too good to be true. Okay, I'm going to let this set the table. You guys have probably already seen this by now, or at least if you have not, you're about to. Okay, it's going to give you a really clear idea of where this discussion is going to go. I know how it works. I'm going to share my screen, and we get rolling. Right there. Boom. I'll click on my profile. By the way, too, at the Lando Show on Twitter, it's a really good way to interact with me. Some of y'all are watching from that side of things already, so that's cool. But without further ado, here we go. Lifeline. A gift from one of the Cowboys. Make sure y'all can hear this. StreamYard. Boom. Okay. Y'all are good. A gift from one of the Jonathan Allen is an almost too good to be true lifeline. A gift from one of the Cowboys' familiar foes, the Washington Commanders. Okay, we know that he is a dependable defensive tackle, starting caliber impact player in this league. We also know why it's so difficult for those to translate. If you don't, you can find out why, because I've written about it on CowboysCountry.com. I've talked about it on my YouTube channel, and it's right here on my Instagram page. Yes, he plays the same position as Oso Digizua. No, it does not matter. Because as of right now, you have 2 defensive tackles, starting caliber players. So you think, and Mozzie Smith and Oso Digizua. You really need 4 at minimum and 5 ideally. So the Cowboys, depending on what you want to say about Justin Rogers, okay, if we don't count him, which the Cowboys absolutely shouldn't be counting on him, 1 year removed from being a 7th-round rookie who was then cut by the Cowboys, reacquired. So it's 2 guys, all right? Oso Digizua played 78% of the snaps last year. This is a rotational position. You need big bodies, more than just 2. You can't have 2. They can't play every snap. All right, so you walk that number down from 78% of the snaps to about 60% or so, and then guess what? You got Jonathan Allen and Oso Digizua keeping each other fresh, thereby being healthier and more physically able-bodied down the home stretch when it matters the most. Big boost for a Matt Eberflus defense, who we already know, the 3-tech defensive tackle he widely considers to be the most important position on his defense. Here's why it's almost too good to be true for the Joneses. If you know what I mean when I say the compensatory draft pick formula, please put something in the chat to let me know that you're one of the ones who has been paying very close attention here. You understand? You heard the man. How much the Cowboys historically covet their draft picks, right? They depend almost solely upon the draft and develop, which is one of the 3 main pillars of team building. The Cowboys try to do team building and keep up with the Joneses, no pun intended, by only utilizing one of those. Okay, you got the draft, you got the free agency market, you got the trade market. Guys who are on expiring contracts that you bring on as outside free agents affect your compensatory draft pick formula. However, guys like Jonathan Allen,
bingo,
casualty cuts. Okay, players who were still under contractual control. His contract did not expire with the Washington Commanders. They just released him to save money on their cap. Those players released into free agency do not affect the compensatory draft pick formula. Almost too good to be true, but a lifeline nonetheless for a Dallas Cowboys team that has far too long been desperate at the defensive tackle position. Talk to you soon.
There you have it, folks. Right there. Jonathan Allen, the lifeline for the desperate Dallas Cowboys defensive tackle position. Thank you, Washington Commanders. Thank you very much, Dan Quinn. Thank you very much, salary cap savings, I guess. Okay, so first, I want to address, I've had some people mention in my comment section, you're not wrong for stating this. It's a valid point, but it's worth noting. Yes, Jonathan Allen plays the same position as Osa Odighizuwa, the man who is now a technically $58 million richer, but if you just want to go ahead and make it sexy for the incentives laden into the contract, the entire figure of Osa's new extension to remain in Dallas is $80 million, okay? But it's a rotational position. And once again, unsurprisingly, well, it wasn't S Master that said this, but Luke, directly above S Master, he makes a good point, and that's what I want to make sure we highlight before I elaborate a little bit more on what compensatory draft picks are and why this is so significant, why this is a lifeline for the Joneses, okay? But let me first clear up the Osa plays the same position discussion. As of today, the Cowboys have two dependable players on the interior of their defensive line, okay? Consists of two positions, two very different roles within a defense and a defensive line. Okay, you got one tech, that's Mozzie Smith. Slightly bigger bodies, more of your run stoppers. Then you got three tech, Osa Odighizuwa or Jonathan Allen. Okay, still disruptive in the run game. At least they better be if they're going to make what Osa's about to be making. You know, it's reflected $6.25 million on the salary cap. Neither here nor there. You ideally want both positions to play the run very, very well. Okay, that's first and foremost. Pass rush is the sweetener. You don't really need either of those guys to be double-digit sack guys. It helps. Everybody loves Aaron Donald, but Aaron Donald is the exception. He's not the norm, and he most certainly should not be who you're constantly seeking after. Looking directly at you, Dan Quinn, whenever you try to make Mozzie Smith somebody that he was not. What's the King and I talked about this in tremendous detail yesterday. Would strongly encourage anybody who missed that one to go catch it on the playback. I don't care if you watch it on my channel, watch it on his if you want to. That's fine. It doesn't matter to me. Go back and listen to the discussion. Okay, some critical points were touched on in there, and it was a lot of fun. I think it's very. I think you guys will get a lot from it. Okay, Osa Odighizuwa played 78% of the snaps last year. You walk that number down to about 60%. When Osa Odighizuwa jogs off the field, a guy like Jonathan Allen comes on. So let's just say, for the sake of the discussion here, it's a 60-40 split, right? What do you think that extra 18% of rest throughout the season will do for Osa Odighizuwa down the stretch and in the postseason when it matters the most for his body? That's what the Eagles do. They just recycle first-round draft pick after first-round draft pick on their offensive or on their defensive line, and then subsequently overwhelm the dynasty of the decade Chiefs in embarrassing fashion almost in the biggest game of the year because they stay fresh. Now, to Luke's point here, let's move along. Why is staying fresh so important? Why do you need 4 guys at minimum at the interior defensive tackle position? I touched on Justin Rogers. He was a 7th-round draft pick last year. He's less than a year removed from being a 7th-round selection by the Cowboys and cut by the Cowboys and then re-added to the practice squad. That's not a guy that you're dependent on. You better not be counting on him. Okay, he's not insurance. He is a upside hopeful at this point. If he contributes for you in any capacity over the course of the next 3 years, it's a pot sweetener. You're laughing to the bank. 7th-round guys are shots in the dark to begin with. Okay, Justin Rogers has a one-stuffer. He's more of a one technique. He's more of a Mozzie Smith. But let's just remove him from the equation. And when we do, even at minimum of having 4 guys that you can depend on, when really ideally you need 5, you're still 2 bodies short. Okay, so whether he and Osa Odigizua, he being Jonathan Allen, play the same position or not is completely irrelevant here. What's relevant is why you eliminate the guessing game, the guesswork from the equation at the second most difficult position to find behind only quarterback. That's my opinion. I don't, we can debate on that. We'll have a discussion. I'll fight you, but it's my opinion. Okay. And I'm about to explain why. Luke's point, very important here. Simply put, and I don't have time to elaborate on this. You guys, like I said, go watch the playback with me and Foots the King, or go read cowboyscountry.com. Just search Landon Holyfield, Athlon Sports. All the work's written for you. It'll pull up a separate page, completely separate URL, and you can go through and read every single one of my short stories. 250 words. Okay, very simple reads. It's really one page if you boil it down. The work is done. So if you want more detail, get it there. Like I said, I got to get out of here quickly. It's a numbers game, okay? Think about it. Simplify the situation here, guys. That's what we're doing. Sports below the surface. Lando show. That's what we do here, okay? Context. One left tackle plays. In a perfect world, each team has one left tackle that plays every snap on offense. Each team has one center that plays every snap on offense. Each team has one right tackle that plays every snap on offense. And each team has a left guard and a right guard that ideally play every snap on offense. They don't come off the field, barring something unforeseen or unexpected. Okay? 300-pound bodies. Let me just pull this up because I want to make sure you guys go and read it. Because if I say it, it means that I mean it, and I have a lot of passion for it. If I take time out of my day and I hand select this as one of my 2 to 3 daily topics that I'm writing about and then YouTubing about, there's a very specific reason for that. All right. So if you're following along here and you're interested in learning the below the surface details about the Dallas Cowboys or otherwise, Texas Longhorns too, you've come to the right place. Okay. Now join the 75,000 people and counting by hitting the subscribe button. The subscribe button is completely free, worth every penny, like my guy Mike Fisher says. All right. Athlon Sports, Landon Holyfield. Let me show y'all, okay? What I want you to read. Y'all have a homework assignment. It looks like it's not updated. So there's one incoming right now, okay, at the very top. But right here, I'll just share it with you as well, because this is still, it'll give you an equal or similar idea. All right. Cowboys urged to steal Jonathan Allen in free agency signing, March 7th, 2025, about 3:10 p.m. Eastern. Go through and read this. Okay, this right here. Now, let's get back out of this page and let me finish my point. Simply put, it's more than this, okay? So go read, but simply put, why DT is the second most difficult position to find, in my personal opinion, than quarterback. It's QB and then it's DT, okay? The defensive tackles, most defensive tackles, let's put it this way, most DTs, most of the time, are wrestling with 2 black belts, 2 fully grown men who are already rare, unique breeds in their own right. Okay. But the offensive line has the advantage in the numbers game. That's why they don't come off the field, because they're much less often, if ever, fighting with 2 guys at once. 2 of the grownest, rarest, strongest, most explosive, powerful athletes in the world. Jonathan Allen has to fight 2 of them at the same time. Oso Digizua oftentimes has to fight 2 of them at the same time. Mozzie Smith made a living in college fighting 2 of them at the same time, holding his ground, not being asked to lose 30 pounds and shoot up the field and become a pass rusher, Dan Quinn. Remember, Will McClay had to talk us into that pick because the Cowboys got so much backlash. There was so much uproar in the wake of the Mozzie Smith selection because conventional wisdom, which, by the way, isn't always wise, the conventional wisdom of team building says that you should never draft a defensive tackle in round 1 if they can't pass rush. So they tried to do something that they make Mozzie into something that they didn't see show up on his college tape. Red flag. All right. Now, where's my next bullet point? I'm just going to start having a whiteboard up here so I don't have to worry about flipping through pages and stuff. I used to do that. That was actually pretty helpful. Okay. So why is DT so difficult to find? Well, because number one, 300-pound men who are detailed when they're off the field work enough, athletic enough, strong enough, and love football enough. They got it between the ears. That's already rare, okay? Ask any college football coach or expert or analyst or player, and they will tell you the biggest jump, the biggest difference between each successive jump and levels from Pee-wee all the way up to college, and then, of course, to the NFL. It's the trench play. Every college in America has a kid that can run 4.4. Most colleges in America don't have a 300-pounder. So that's the context, just to help you kind of simplify. And that is an oversimplification. Okay. You think about all your Power 4 schools that people, that has built the sport of college football. It's littered. Those teams are littered with those guys, but that's why it's called the Power 4. That's why there are subdivisions within Division I college football. You've got FCS, you've got FBS. Okay. It's trench play. All right. It's a numbers game. DTs are oftentimes wrestling against 2. So in a nutshell, you kind of want to picture that position as having 2 guys at 1 tech, 2 guys at 3 tech, and then a bonus player that maybe can do a little bit of both. You've got a 5-man rotation, guys keeping each other fresh, constantly being disruptive, i.e. the Philadelphia Eagles. And that permeates and persists to the edge position too. Okay, that matters. That factors into this equation, but that's a deep room enough for the Cowboys right now too, to where even if they don't bring back DeMarcus Lawrence, I still don't think they're desperate. That might be the least desperate position on the roster. In my opinion, you still got Marshawn Nealon, you still got Sam Williams, you still got Micah Parsons. You can bring back Carl Lawson if you want to. DeMarvion Overshown is going to get some edge work when he gets back. So, I mean, you actually have quality depth, unlike linebacker, when right now it's literally Maris Leofau and who? Bringing Nick Vigil back, probably going to cut Damone Clark. Wrote about why he is the most likely cap casualty. Say $3.3 million by cutting him. Not his fault. High-profile player coming out of college and LSU, highly respected to wear the number 18. Look up the significance of that. Damone Clark deserves respect, but we have to be honest about the situation. His spinal fusion surgery, I'm throwing him that bone. I don't know if that's why, but it appears when I watch him play closely and I dissect what he's doing, it's either a processing problem or it's a I don't trust my neck problem. And I wrote on CowboysCountry.com that I'm not sure. I think both of those are equally terrifying. I don't know which one would scare me more. Okay. Now, finally, let's understand the compensatory draft pick formula. The purpose of you clicking on this video. I got a couple minutes here to wrap this up. Tyrus Reed, too. Good call. Thank you. See, sometimes I slip, and that's why I got my trusty folks like S Master down here in the chat box to remind me. Good call. What's his deal look like right now? Can you mind typing that in the chat for me? I don't have the time to do it right now. Somebody let me know. But here's the underlying sentiment, the premise of this entire project. Okay, the purpose behind me being at risk of getting yelled at by my wife instead of getting ready for dinner. The comp pick formula. Okay, simply put, and I'll pull up Spotrac here because I think they have a pretty good overall assessment. Let me think about how I want to say this so I don't have to overemphasize. Yeah, overthecap.com, they do have one. Okay, so think of the compensatory draft pick formula, and you guys feel free to go do your own research on this. Okay, it's not difficult, but I'll have it shown so you guys can get a decent feel. For a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who more so than most, if not all, are over-dependent, over-reliant, overestimate their ability to hit on all their draft picks. Okay, it's an imperfect science. Why? Because you can't measure the mind of the athlete. At least until recently, you couldn't. The S2 cognition test, another thing that I wrote about on Athlon Sports, Landon Holyfield, CowboysCountry.com. The S2 cognition test is changing the game too. It must be considered, but still, your physical ability is what gets you to the league. Your mental capacity is what keeps you there. Okay, clear on that one, I hope. For teams like the Cowboys, who depend on their ability to be spot on, to be perfect in an imperfect science, this is one of the first things that you must know if you really want to understand who the Joneses are and how they operate. Comp picks are the league's way of more or less, let's call it leveling the playing field. It's a reward, a reimbursement. Comp picks are a reimbursement. That's what we're going to go with as far as simplicity is concerned. A reimbursement for players that you lose via free agency, who sign, and now there are certain parameters that have to be met for them to qualify. Okay, they have to sign a large enough contract with their new team, the team that they're headed to. But why Jonathan Allen is a loophole here. Okay. For instance, the Cowboys this year. So, okay, let's one more little subset of context for you to help you kind of make this clear. And guys in the chat, let me know if I'm being clear about. Sometimes I don't know if the delivery is right. So y'all got to help me out. Talk to me. The subset, I guess the context that we're gonna consider here to kind of help you guys. Anyone who's still a little bit confused or unsettled about what this compensatory draft pick formula is. There's 7 rounds in the NFL draft prior to undrafted free agency hitting. Okay, so you got 7 rounds. But this year, prior to the Cowboys giving up a 4th round pick for Jonathan Mingo, the Cowboys had 10. So, if you swipe the slate clean, everybody has 7 draft picks to start. Leading into any calendar year, any NFL draft, most teams have 7 picks. Or every team would have 7 picks. Okay, once again, if you wipe the slate clean. How is it that the Cowboys were going to have 10 this year? I believe the Cowboys had, 8 last year, 9 or 10 the year before that. We can look. You guys can look. I don't have time right now. It's comp picks. Okay. So what happens? This is why this formula is partially responsible for the frugality of America's favorite front office to hate. Because let's use Tony Pollard for example. All right. I don't know what he signed for, but let's just say an average of $10 million per year, because there are qualifiers. You must meet a minimum in terms of your contract value. Okay. If a free agent, a guy whose contract expires on your watch, unlike Jonathan Allen, his contract didn't end. He was under contractual control. That's important. That's why we're having this discussion. The Commanders released him. They Damone Clark'd him. He's a cap casualty to save money. Okay. He was still under contract. They had his rights. That's why he doesn't count against it, because his contract didn't expire. That's just the rules. Okay. So Tony Pollard, let's just say 2 years, $20 million, $10 million a year. All right. The Cowboys last year, they signed Derrick Henry, same contract, 2 years, $20 million. So while cash payables, Tony Pollard, so the guy that's leaving, the NFL in theory would say, here's a comp pick for you because he left. But then if you go and sign one of similar contract value, right, that those minimum qualifiers, so whoever you bring in that also qualifies under the compensatory draft pick formula, now all of a sudden Tony Pollard gets canceled out. So free agent out or free agent in cancels out comp pick for free agent out. Does that make sense? I feel like I probably could do a much better job of explaining that. Angie's in the house too. What's up, Angie? Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. So I hope this is clear. But so the Cowboys had 4 comp picks this year. Okay. They currently stand at 9. But so for next year, why signing Jonathan Allen, assuming a high-profile free agent from in-house signs elsewhere, which one of them likely will, I don't know who, Jonathan Allen wouldn't cancel out that departure. So the Cowboys, for the 2027 draft, or 2026, I don't know. It's the following year that it goes to. So for next year's draft, after this, the Cowboys would be granted. They wouldn't have a comp pick that gets canceled out. So the league would grant them, say, let's just say that only one free agent left the Cowboys. The Cowboys only signed Jonathan Allen. Okay. It's still a net +1 for the comp pick formula because Jonathan Allen's contract did not expire. Let's say they don't bring back Jordan Lewis, which they absolutely should. Okay. Jordan Lewis, he signs elsewhere. 3 years, $30 million, just for the sake of simplicity. $10 million a year. That's going to get the Cowboys at least a 4th round pick. Okay. The comp picks are in between rounds 3 and rounds 6. Does it go all the way to 7? I think it's rounds 3, but the most common comp pick that the Cowboys have received, at least in their recent history, has been a 5th round pick. That's why they have 3 draft picks this year. 2 of those are comp picks. So yeah, Seahawks got a fire sale going on. That's true. I just saw that too, man. I've been so busy working today. I haven't even had time to touch on that. But yeah, the trade of Geno Smith was interesting. Obviously, they've made it pretty clear that they intend on selling or trading DK Metcalf. Wild times, man. But is there anything else that y'all let me know right now, because I got to get out of here. Dustin is in the house too, man. I hope you enjoy the playback. We're about to get up out of here, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as the lifeline and why this situation, the Jonathan Allen situation, is almost too good to be true, especially for the Joneses, who are overly dependent upon their draft picks, because Jonathan Allen's contract did not expire. He was released to save money. Acquiring his services in free agency Do not cancel out any potential outgoing free agent. Jordan Lewis, just as an example. They should bring him back too. I bet they will. Damn good player. The Cowboys for far too long have been desperate at that position. Guys, think back to 2019. Tristan Hill. Remember that? Remember that they felt that they were only one position away. That was the only hole in the roster. They had to go and fill it. They overvalued their scouting process on Tristan Hill. They reached for a position of need. The pendulum, the NFL pendulum, is swinging back in favor of physical football. Right? It's a constant ebbs and flows of a chess match. Offenses go spread them, up tempo, 4 receivers on the field, sometimes 5, high octane, a lot of air it out offense. What do defenses do? They counter. Nickel defenses have become the base. Means you got 5 DBs on the field most of the time. Means your linebackers now all of a sudden have a lot more coverage responsibility. They better be able to move backwards. They better be able to flip their hips. They better be more than just a downhill phone booth box player. Because otherwise they will get mismatched. They will, we'll put CeeDee Lamb in the slot. We'll motion him out of and into the formation, and we're going to ISO your worst covered defender. It's modern offense, modern football. So teams had to go light. Defenses make the adjustment. Watch the touchdowns. The average, the touchdown rate in the NFL. Track that. Okay, it kind of shows you the trends, right? As of right now, scoring in the NFL has been doing this over the past few years because defenses are catching up. They're getting faster. They're getting smarter. They were learning how to eliminate the pass-heavy trend that plagued every level of football for the last decade. It's swinging back the opposite direction. More teams are more willing to go get a Derrick Henry, go get a Josh Jacobs, go get a Saquon Barkley. Erasers, dudes that change the math and make life easier for your quarterback. Before you go and continue crapping on Dak Prescott, at least have the maturity, the fortitude, and the foresight, I guess, is probably the right word, to admit that this is still the ultimate team sport we're talking about here. Okay? There are exceptions, though. There are erasers. The Kansas City Chiefs had a significant quarterback advantage, the most important position in all of sports in that Super Bowl matchup against the Eagles. But it did not matter because they had an eraser at the running back position and they completely controlled the trenches on both sides of the football. Okay? Zeke Elliott was an eraser early in his career. I believe that there are 2 erasers like that. Guys who can run physically and downhill, break and elude tackles. Okay? Vision, contact balance, all those things, right? The physical traits that are crucial for efficient running back play. Okay, but also can pass protect, can play in space, and can catch the football. I believe there are 2 guys that can check every single one of those boxes that I mentioned right there in this draft that are erasers. And I'm no expert on the draft. I got 2 babies. I don't have as much time as I would like to be as detailed with my evaluations as I would like to be. But I know eraser level running back talent when I see it, okay? Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton. Those are the 2 guys. And yes, Ashton's in a tier of his own. But then right below him, Omarion Hampton is in a tier of his own as well. Those are erasers. Okay. I'm going to let that sort of tease the next project. And I hate to dip out on you guys. I'm actually already been in here for 10 minutes longer than I said that I would be. So with that, I hope that you guys found this insightful, informative. I hope that you will hit the like button for me or the subscribe button, whichever one you prefer. Remember, 75,000 strong and counting. Okay. The best way for you guys to help me out is just to do one of those two things. You can tip me too if you want. Cash App, $sign Landon Holyfield, Venmo, Landon-Holyfield. That's another way to support the channel. But y'all just being here, liking the video for me. That's how YouTube gets the signal to help me continue to grow and build this thing. All right. Thank you to Waggle, the official sponsor of Hosel and Hack LLC. And as a result, the Lando Show. This is everything y'all see me wear is Waggle. Okay. Something in the pipeline too with Justin Boots, hopefully. So I'm excited about that one. There is no more perfect target market or niche than my two respective fan bases, the Texas Longhorns and the Dallas Cowboys. That shoe or that boot absolutely fits, if you will. And I'm being ushered out of the room right now. You look good. You want to come say hello? No. Okay. She doesn't want to come say hi. All right. I'm out of here. I love y'all. Remember, prayer changes things and the war is already won. Talk to y'all soon.